that it somewhere got very deep seated in me. But I think it got very enhanced because I was already predisposed to being sensitive. So I think my sensitivity and this thing happening to me, maybe at moments combined together, would probably bring out that or make me feel more sensitive than normal. But I don't think it's because of this. And it's very, I do believe that we as human beings, we are predisposed to certain tendencies even before we are born, you know. So I think I was just one of those who was like that.
Okay, Megha?
So I think the question to your first question about what
something you wish you'd known.
So well, I've had a reasonably balanced childhood with my parents. My father was also in the Air Force, Portugal, kids, both of us. And mum was a big influence in my life as well, and both me and my sister. So we, from a family point of view, we were always given that environment to, you can achieve the world. But when I've been in this industry for the last 30 plus years now, and while when I was in that corporate space, right, very few women were there in the senior roles, and of course now you see a lot of women in the workforce, but again not enough in the C-suite levels. So for me, I think what I wish I could have learned out of, or probably been guided was ask more questions. I think what I accepted what was offered. What was given was based on the fact, their assumptions of what I was worthy of or what did I deserve, but I really did not question the status quo. And I think that to me is one letter probably I'll write to my daughter, that don't just accept what's offered to you, question it and question the status quo. So I think that is my probably one thing I would
That's
say.
very interesting because we were talking about how one of the things that the most empowered, self-aware women tend to accept is to not say much about money. And to just say, oh, work will speak for itself. And I can see lots of young women there nodding. So raise your hand if you're a woman who wants to talk about money but can't and thinks that your work will speak for itself. So that's okay. So that's the whole. Huh?
We ask for money.
You ask for money. Okay, that's good. A lot of us don't.
So you're absolutely right. Ask for more is also something that we should, probably tell them, because it is true that women don't negotiate as much as men. So sometimes when we are wondering why are men getting more or men getting more promotions, or also pay parity is now such a big discussion, it's also because it's been found out that men negotiate more often than women do, and women tend to accept the offers that they get. They are almost grateful, there's an amazing quality about us. We are so grateful that we have the job, we have the right guy, we have right everything. Let's not nudge the boat too much, or it might just topple. But that is where we need to tell our girls and women that if you think you deserve more, which most times you do, you must ask for more, you must negotiate more often, and Zada se Zada, it may be a no, but at least you tried, and the other person knows that you know your more.
One of the things your book talks about is a certain kind of female boss. And I'm going to push back a little bit here and encourage all of us to think a little more about this idea of the female boss. So of course we've seen one kind of female boss in the sort of Meryl Streep, Devil Wears Prada kind of caricature. But you argue in your book that the concept of the queen bee is real, and you argue that there are women who take on quote-unquote masculine traits because they try to make it in an all-male world. So I have two questions, and I'll start with you. One, in this age of gender fluidity, what is feminine and what is masculine? Our younger generation may not even understand. B, could it be that the tough female boss is judged differently from the tough male boss?
So you're absolutely right. Today we live in really different times, but I remember reading an interview and when I was interviewing one of the bosses about 15 years back when she was offered one of the senior roles. One of the most natural things that she did is she did a shorter haircut because she didn't want to spend too much time in front of the mirror, look too feminine, and also wanted to look more practical, more work-oriented. She also switched to more masculine clothes, which could be, this whole phrase of who's wearing the pants. Somewhere, I don't know how this has gone down as a compliment, and she felt she will not be taken seriously if she doesn't adapt that, and she was not alone, because again, through research it was found out that women feel that the more aggressive, or the more these masculine traits that we take, we will appear more leader-like, because empathy yet, which is one of our strongest traits, it's not actually acknowledged, accepted, or even encouraged at workplaces. On the contrary, empathetic leaders are the future.
But let me push again, and I'd love Kirti and Megha also to come in on this. When a woman is emotional, she's called hysterical. When a man is emotional, he's called compassionate, sensitive. When a woman is
He's
aggressive,
actually called a loser.
okay, chalo, I was being polite. When a woman is ambitious, aggressive, some might say, oh, she's trying to be like the guys, or she's being a bitch. But when a man has exactly the same behavior, if he's a tough leader. So I'm a bit confused. Why do we believe that there is a female kind of leadership and a male kind of leadership? I'm not sure I believe that. Do you?
I don't actually.
Yeah.
I think what we necessarily talk about is the yin and yang, the feminine and the masculine, which we all have within us. The Ardhanarishwar that we talk about is basically yin and yang in all of us. I think the whole point is to bring the two in balance, right? That is the ideal way of going about things and all of that. So the fight is not so much कि आप लड़की हैं, आप लड़के हैं. एक लड़की भी ऐसी हो सकती है जिसका yang बहुत strong है, right? And vice versa. You have men who are very sensitive, who are okay to express themselves emotionally. So it is. I think this whole confusion of a man and a woman is something that I personally do not buy into a lot. It's not something that I tell myself too often. I have been an actor for 15 years now, and I've recently turned a producer. And but I have literally stepped into a world, like as an actor, actors की फिर भी अपनी एक जगह है. Female actors की एक अपनी जगह है. They don't need to compete with male actors in that sense. But as a producer, it is a gender fluid role, right? So I am literally putting myself out there in the middle of a lot of men and few women. But I must say, not for once have I felt that, oh, I'm a woman, I need to do this differently, I need to be a little more like this, little more this. No, it's just, I'm just allowing myself all the qualities of the yin and yang that I need to, what do you say? I need to get, like, what is the word? मतलब मुझे उस moment में जिस quality की ज़रूरत है,
more organic tapping into.
Exactly. And I think I have in my head I have never given too much thought to this whole idea of gender-based things, and I think not that I'm not aware of it, but it's a story that I don't keep telling myself very often.
Yeah.
I think coming from this space of just not having this at the back of my head and
Frees you.
Exactly.
Frees you, the lack of self-consciousness.
Yeah.
Can we afford, because my job here is to be contrarian and give the opposite argument to all three of you. Can we
You're damn
afford,
good with it.
thank you. Can we afford to always be lacking in self-consciousness? I get her point that somewhere you just want to be yourself, but sometimes it's a real battle,
So, I taking in everyone's inputs here, I just talk from my own experience, and having been in that space in the last 30 plus years, I've never taken decisions based on whether I'm thinking myself to be a woman or whatever the gender I am, but it's what is right for that person or that moment or for that business decision. Yeah. Now that comes from me being an individual, an executive. I happen to be a woman. It is not because I am a woman I'm taking a certain decision. So I think fundamentally, when leaders, when you think that you're a good leader, or you are you have the power to be a leader, to make an impact, you need to take these decisions based on what is right for that moment, that business decision, person, people. You're a people person. That's it. Like you're in a people industry. You've got to factor that in. You happen to be a man, woman, or any other gender. It doesn't matter. So I think this whole argument of whether a woman is a good leader, a male is a good leader,
But that is not the same as saying that women don't have to fight X number of times as hard or harder than men to get to the same place, and that they will be judged much more harshly. So I was once interviewing Hillary Clinton, and at that time she was Secretary of State, wanting to run for president, never managed to become president, and she told me something that always stays with me. She said, Barka, if you're a opinionated, independent, successful woman in the public eye, you have to have a skin as thick as the hide of a rhino. So do you have a skin as thick as the hide of a rhino?
I don't know yet, I'm working on it. But I think coming back to what you two said, I absolutely love your approaches, being also the yin and yang. I feel you also come from very secure places about your position, your authority, and the place you are at right now. So you probably don't look at that canvas as this is what I'm supposed to do.
But to that, Shamali, we were not there always.
Absolutely.
We got here.
Yeah.
And that is the point we're trying to make here.
Yeah.
It's never going to be a walk in the park for anybody.
It could be that in your getting there, you were judged for your style of leadership, for your personality, for not being soft enough, for being too hard, for not dressing as
That's where the rhino skin helps.
Yeah. So that's what I want to understand, that when you speak of women embracing what you call masculine traits, are they embracing masculine traits, or are they being judged differently from men for gender neutral traits?
So what has happened is when this study was carried out, and this was what came out when the top CEOs and everyone was interviewed. Of course, not everyone is like that. There's a majority of percentage that believe they have to adopt or adapt masculine traits because they thought, for example, showing emotions, which is considered to be a feminine thing at work, might be looked down upon, or I will look like a weak leader if I share my home problems at work and stuff like that. But the book actually now argues that this is a loophole. This is not something that we must be following because actually females have stronger leadership traits than male, and it's genetically been proved and understood because there was a leadership assessment scale out of which 4 and 5 traits were matching with what women actually have as opposed to lesser on males. So the idea is that our natural feminine traits are actually amazing for leadership roles. So why are we not there? Why are there less number of women in the top leadership roles? So it comes down to the fact that our opportunities have been much lesser, and the book specifies in Indian context society because we speak about our daughters and sons very differently, which is again another conversation.
Yeah, we will talk about what letters to our sons might look like, but I just want to explore this just a little more for a couple of minutes. There was a time when Indira Gandhi was called the only man in the cabinet, and this is because she was able to carve out Bangladesh, the 1971 war. She was a woman kind of commandeering, both 40 daughters, commandeering the troops into the Great 71 War and the birth of Bangladesh. Today we would not use that language, but courage associated with maleness still remains. So I want to explore this idea a little more. On the one hand, we live in an age where you identify your pronoun. If you identify as he, she, they, and a million other entities. We talk about gender fluidity. On the other hand, we are still debating, is there a yin and yang? Is there a male and female? When younger people aren't even convinced that these are the only two genders. So it's a brave new world. So jump right in.
You cannot deny the existence of everything else that we are here for, right? But I personally, feel, Gurkha, that we all have, I'm going to give a very generic statement, but honestly it's the most true statement. We all have our battles to fight, walk our path. The challenges, they are very unique to all of us. So it's never, as she said, a walk in the park for anyone, right? What has really helped me, away from all the conversations around, all the conditioning, all the noise around, right? And the noise is, I don't know how many times more today with social media, right? What has really helped me is to keep connecting with myself.
But sometimes that's the toughest thing to do.
But that's why people don't do it. People keep going out because that's easier. It's easier to escape your own self. I can lie to you, but I cannot lie to myself.
Yeah.
So I would rather speak to you and just make up a story and make it easy for both of us, right? So personally, I mean, 100 baat ki ek baat, I have the only genuine thing I've really worked on in my life is to go home to myself, keep asking questions, keep questioning everything that I have a question about, seek answers, and just find authenticity. And I think that's personally my weapon against everything in the world.
You know, I'm all for authenticity, but I think it's very difficult. It's what women in particular find difficult because sacrifice has been so romanticized when it comes to women. I always go to these talks and these events, and women will say, "What's the one thing you'd say to us?" And I'd say, "I have no one to say anything to you, but there's one thing I want to say to you is be selfish." And everybody looks, "What? Someone actually said be selfish?" And I'm like, I'm so tired of selfless sacrifice being romanticized when it comes to women. Rarely will you meet a woman who say, "I'm here first to pursue my own happiness."
Yeah, totally. In fact, again, we were talking about in the room earlier. I think it is also about how you are conditioned, okay? And the conditioning can be self-created and be, of course, the environment. And I really strongly believe that as individual, whether man, woman, or any other gender, the choices you make are the choices you make.
Yeah.
No one is making those choices for you.
Well, in our circle of privilege, there are many
Also,
women outside our circle of privilege who are not making free choices.
No, but the point is, Barkha, that there is always a choice. Now you're deciding it you're making those decisions based on your assumptions that you have to take this for your family, making those choices. When I have made some choices, I have not been, 100% mother, 100%.
To come back to, the letters we would write to the daughters of tomorrow, which is the title of somebody's book. Just a data point. There's a lot of data in this book, by the way, but I'm sharing the data about how many women in India work. I